So, episode 4 of What If came out today. It was awesome. Better than last week's episode. Now, I did say in my review of last week's episode that I thought it was better than episode 2. I'm going to retract that statement and say that episode 2 was better, but this episode is better than episode 2. So, this is a spoiler warning. Spoilers, if you haven't seen the episode, I'll be revealing the title right now. This episode is called What If Doctor Strange Lost His Heart Instead of His Hands? It's kind of a melodramatic title, and I was like, wait a second. When I first saw the title, I thought, wait a minute, does that mean that his heart gets, ripped out of his body in the car accident? But no, it turns out that instead of his heart literally being ripped out of his body and him not having it anymore, which would result in him dying, so I don't know why I thought that anyway. So it turns out that Christine Palmer, Rachel McAdams, Regina George from Doctor Strange, actually went with him to the Doctor Speak event thing that he was going to go to in the first movie, but she came with him this time, and she died. So yeah, that's the whole setup for the episode. Now, this, unlike every other episode, they got back every single person who was in the original Doctor Strange movie to voice their characters. So, Benedict Cumberbatch, Rachel McAdams, everybody is back to voice their characters. So that was cool, and it eliminated the problem of kind of the inconsistent voice acting in the previous 3 episodes. So let's get into the negatives on this one. I feel like during the montage where they just showed the movie Doctor Strange playing out, I feel like they kind of went out of their way to avoid Mordo being seen, because the scene where Doctor Strange is doing the thing with the apple and the hand wavy thing, in the original movie, it's Wong and Mordo who confront him about that. In this episode, it's Wong and the Ancient One. And I was like, well, I mean, where's Mordo in all this? Is he not here? Are we going to see that in a different episode, perhaps in season 2? Anyway. And so, but honestly, that's the only negatives I have about this episode, because otherwise, it was fantastic. The voice acting, especially from Benedict Cumberbatch, was top notch across the board. So it was very cool to see Christine Palmer again, give her a little bit more important of a part, because while I enjoyed her in the first movie and she clearly had chemistry with Cumberbatch, she didn't really have much importance in the plot. And here she is the center of the plot, so I like that. And I really like that this episode didn't do what the first episode with Captain Carter did. It's not just Doctor Strange, the movie, but without Christine, and with Stephen trying to heal his heart, I suppose, as opposed to his hands. I'm glad they didn't do that, because that's kind of what the setup implies. It seems like that would be the obvious direction to take it, but this show has not been very obvious before, so why would it be now? I thought there were some really, really emotional scenes in this episode, especially when we see Steven just trying to fix his mistake and trying to make sure that Christine doesn't die over and over and over again, and it repeatedly doesn't work because Christine's death is I don't remember what it was called. I watched the episode this morning twice. How do I not remember what it was called? Anyway, so it was her death was something that was supposed to happen. It cannot be changed. It's a major event that allowed Stephen Strange to take the journey to become Doctor Strange. So yeah, there was that. And then this episode was really funny. It got plenty of laughs out of me, similar to the movie Doctor Strange. it introduced a new character named Obeng, who was kind of like Wong in that he was a librarian at a mystical library, and he had a similar relationship to Steven as Wong did. But I really enjoyed him. He had enough differences from Wong that I liked him. The voice, in the actor's name was Ike Amati, who I'd heard his voice before in Troll Hunters, the Netflix show, which is a really good show, by the way. And then it kind of shows Steven doing things that Steven would do in this situation, because like everything that Steven does is directly in line with his character from the movies and from the movie Doctor Strange. So he's just stealing powers from other beings from completely different sides of the universe or whatever, and he's just taking in all this power and just so he can try to bring back Christine, even though that's not supposed to happen. That feels like something Steven would do. And when you have the both Stevens, there are multiple Doctor Stranges in this universe because the Ancient One actively split the timeline when she confronted Steven the first time, right after he'd witnessed Christine dying over and over again. Oh, speaking of which, in this episode we got a cameo from Christine Everhart, that lady that Tony was with in the first Iron Man film. So that was kind of cool. And then there's this very interesting scene between the two Doctor Stranges where the one that's not causing a lot of damage is like, this is because of our need to fix everything. And yeah, that's accurate. That's perfect. And then like throughout this episode, Steven feels consistent with who he was in the movies. He feels like the same person. His arrogance is just kind of bumped up a little bit. And by the end of the episode, Evil Steven, or Doctor Strange Supreme, who is awesome, by the way, kind of sees the error of his ways. He's like, no, the world's gonna die. It's kind of because of me. So yeah, and there's that. Speaking of Strange Supreme, what a cool character. Like, this is a great way to just take a variant of a character from the MCU and just make them so cool. Like, Benedict Cumberbatch, as we know, has played many, many villains before. Smaug in the Hobbit trilogy, for example, and he just gets to flex his evil chops, and he does it so well. On top of that, the design of the character is spectacular. And throughout these 4 episodes, the animation and the action has always been really, really great. But here, because it's Doctor Strange, and that movie already took kind of the visuals and the action stuff to a whole new level, this episode is allowed to take the visuals and the action to a whole new level. And it does it so well, because in the scenes where Steven is taking powers from other beings, it just looks so cool, because for a brief moment when he absorbs that being's power, he takes on the physical appearance of that being. And then by the end of the episode, he just kind of becomes a combination of those beings. Like, he's the melting pot of various creatures. So yeah, I really like that the main theme from the Doctor Strange movie plays a couple times in this episode, so that was cool. There's this big wizard duel at the end between both Doctor Stranges, and that was awesome. And the episode ends with with Strange Supreme having basically obliterated the other Strange. He's just trapped in this tiny little bubble. Christine is gone, and he's just sitting there in his tiny little bubble with this little pad of earth that's barely bigger than where I am sitting right now, and he's just sad, alone. He's just saying, "I'm so sorry," and I don't know. It was a really powerful ending to me. Not to mention something that none of these episodes have done before. The Watcher interacts with characters here. He doesn't interfere. But it's like in the middle of the episode, the Watcher is there. Like we can see him in the background as we've been able to see him before, but the characters haven't. And it's like at one point, Strange just kind of looks behind him and he's like, "Who's there?" And as if he recognized a presence. And then at the end of the episode, when Strange Supreme is like making this bubble around him and Christine to help to stop the world from closing in around them, the Watcher is kind of like just outside of it and is like, "Hey, you, hey, Watcher guy, you're a god, right? You can do something to this. Like, don't let the world suffer for me being an idiot." And the Watcher's like, "No, never." These are terrible impressions. I'm sorry. So the Watcher actually does interact with Strange Supreme, and the Watcher's kind of like talking down to him. He's like, "Hey, if I could punish you and not the entire world, I would. But, you're stupid, so I'm not going to." So yeah, the Watcher just leaves, and then Strange is trapped in his little bubble. So yeah, it's such an incredible episode. Oh man, it works really well as a play on the Doctor Strange movie, and if you saw my MCU ranking, that's one of my favorite movies in the franchise. It's like top 10 for me, but yes, so what a great episode. It's really well crafted, it's really well paced, and I just really enjoyed it. So I am loving this show so far. I'm loving just the novelty of seeing these events, but different somehow. So, yeah, what did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments. Oh, and one more thing. I think it's a little weird how the Watcher feels the need to constantly say, "I am the Watcher." Like, just imagine someone just constantly feeling the need to announce themselves all the time, perhaps with an absurd hand gesture or something like that. Anyway, I am the Film Watcher, and thank you for watching, and keep calm and watch on.